We just finished extending the frame rails on this truck so that we can put an ET hitch on it. Let's take a look at what we did. This is typical, especially of a tandem axle truck, of what we would do to install a hitch. So because we're not we're not taking an axle out so that we have extra frame rail at the back, we definitely have to extend the frame rail here to fit an ET in. So why do we have to do that? Why can't we just set it on top? Well, a suspension hitch, all of the suspension hitches, are too tall to really put on top of the frame rails. It would put the plate too high. The target height for a plate is 48 inches. If you put a typical suspension hitch on top of the frame rails, you're going to be up in the 50-inch area or more, up to 52 or 53 inches. And you can see that there's no room in here with the axles in place and the airbags and the shock towers, shocks over here too, with the shock huck bolts on the inside. There's no room in here to put the angle that you have to put in here and keep it forward. It would interfere with the torsion bar and all of that. So we extend this back, in this case further than we need, and we'll cut it to length once we get the hitch in. We'll mount the angles in here, and then we'll push it as far forward as we can, as practical, and still maintain the height that we need, 48 inches, and then we'll cut it to length. So we weld about 20 inches in, sometimes a little bit more. You can see that this was just freshly welded. We will paint this with industrial paint. Normally we powder coat our steel, but you obviously can't take a truck through a powder coat line, and you can't powder coat it before you weld it. So we'll just use industrial paint on this. We'll clean it up, sanitize it, flush it, and then paint it. So in some cases, this is a short extension. In other cases, we have to extend it further out. When we do that, we do sister material inside here. There'll be another C channel that we form to put inside of that, and then we bolt it to this one. So it would span or sister in across this. In some cases, it goes forward 4 or 5 feet even. Depends on how far out we go. We try to keep the overhangs or the cantilevered portion as short as we can. Some people want to carry large vehicles on here, and that requires a long frame extension. When you get out too far, though, you start to run into handling issues as you unweigh the front, or as you have a long cantilever out the back with forces acting on the pin from the trailer. It can affect the handling of the truck, especially in an emergency situation where you're changing lanes fast or something like that. So we're very cautious about what we do back here, but this kind of short extension is not a problem at all. And you'll see Baba puts a do not weld on here on the frame rails. It's perfectly fine to weld on the back here. If you're welding in the middle, however, where you're going to carry load, you have to really know what you're doing and be careful about what you're doing, because there's a lot of forces acting here. The small RV trailers that we use, they don't put much force back here. It's not like it's a huge structural load like an 80,000 or 60,000 pound commercial load. But obviously we do it right. We use certified structural welders to do it. Reinforce it where we need to reinforce it. And that's pretty much how we do it. Other people do it slightly differently. But any good frame shop can extend your truck rails for you. If you're just putting a hitch on, it's pretty simple to do. If you know how to weld and you have the right equipment and you have the right steel. Now we take this plate and we form it. We put it through a brake and form it ourselves. And this type of steel we use depends on how far out we're going, but it's all structural steel. So that's what's involved in extending the frame rails to install a suspension hitch. Our preferred hitch is an ET hitch. We believe it's the best suspension hitch on the market today, best built. It's really intended for very heavy vehicles. There will be a new version out that's more for light pin weights. But if you have a trailer that's 4,000 pounds-pin weight or more, an ET is a really good solution for you. This truck will be done being converted shortly. We've done a complete conversion on this. Obviously, we didn't single it, but we've done everything else that's required for you to hook up an RV to it and tow your RV. That's what's involved in putting an ET hitch on. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us, RVH Lifestyles. You can find us contact information on our website.
Yeah.